Libra, something is about to happen in your life that you are going to remember. Not in the way you remember ordinary things, not the way a date or a detail lingers because you made a note of it somewhere, but in the way you remember the moments that genuinely divide your life into before and after. The moments where, without any dramatic announcement, the entire temperature of your reality shifts and you find yourself standing in a version of your life that feels somehow more real than the one you were living just a short while before. That moment is close, closer than you think, closer, honestly, than you are currently allowing yourself to believe. And I understand why you are holding back from believing it fully. You have hoped before. You have felt the energy of something building before, felt the quiet electricity of a shift approaching, let yourself lean toward it, and then watched it arrive differently than you expected, or arrive partially, or arrive and then dissolve before it fully settled. And each of those experiences left a mark. Not a devastating mark, because you are more resilient than you give yourself credit for, but a careful mark, the kind that teaches you to hold hope at a slight distance, to want things without wanting them too loudly, to believe in the possibility of change without fully committing your heart to the certainty of it. But this time is different. And the reason it is different is not circumstantial. It is not simply that the external conditions have improved, though they have. It is different because you are different. The version of you that is standing at the edge of this shift is not the same version of you that stood at the edge of previous ones. You have changed in ways you haven't fully taken stock of yet, grown in ways that are real and deep and lasting. And what is arriving now is arriving for this version of you, the one who has done the work, carried the weight, learned the lessons, and arrived finally at a place of genuine readiness. You are ready, even if you don't feel ready, even if part of you still feels like you are waiting to become the person who deserves what is coming. You are already that person. You became that person somewhere in the middle of everything you were managing, somewhere in the quiet interior of all the seasons you were simply enduring, and you didn't notice because becoming doesn't announce itself. It just happens steadily, the way all real things happen, without fanfare, without a ceremony, without anyone handing you a certificate that says you have now officially arrived. But you have arrived. And what is on its way to you now is the confirmation of that. Let me tell you what I see moving in your direction, because it is not a single thing and it is not a small thing, and I want you to understand the full breadth of it, so that when it begins to reveal itself piece by piece in the particular way that good things tend to arrive for Libra, not all at once, but in a layered, beautifully sequenced unfolding, you will recognize it. You will not dismiss it as coincidence. You will not minimize it as less than it is. You will understand that what is happening is exactly what was always meant to happen, arriving exactly when it was always meant to arrive. There is a door opening, and on the other side of that door is a situation, a circumstance, a connection, an opportunity, a combination of things that directly addresses the thing you have been most quietly, most persistently, most privately longing for. Not the surface longing, not the version of your desire that you share comfortably in casual conversation, the deep one, the one that lives in the place underneath your words, underneath your composure, underneath the graceful exterior you present to a world that rarely gets to see the full tenderness of what you carry inside. That longing, the real one, is about to be met, not in a vague, symbolic, spiritual language kind of way, in a real, tangible, your actual life is changing kind of way. And here is what makes this particular moment so significant for you. It is not arriving because you finally figured out the right formula. It is not arriving because you performed or achieved or optimized your way to it. It is arriving because the energy you have been consistently putting out into the world, the care, the thoughtfulness, the genuine desire to create harmony and beauty in every space you touch has reached a tipping point. There is a law that the universe operates by that has nothing to do with fairness in the punishing or rewarding sense, but everything to do with resonance. Like attracts like, depth calls to depth. Genuine effort, sustained over time, generates a current that eventually, inevitably, draws its equivalent back toward the source. You are the source, and the current is returning. Now, because this is Libra, because you are someone who feels things in their full complexity and deserves to be spoken to with the same complexity, I want to go beyond the what and spend some time with the how. Because the how matters. The way this shift arrives matters. And understanding it will help you receive it fully rather than letting it pass through you like something you almost had but couldn't quite hold. The first thing to understand is that what is coming will likely arrive through a human being, not in isolation, not as an abstract stroke of fortune that descends from nowhere, but through a person or through a conversation or through a connection that either deepens dramatically or arrives brand new and carries with it something you need. This is almost always how Libra's most significant life changes arrive, through the portal of another person, because you are, at your most fundamental level, a relational being. Your growth happens in relationship. Your blessings tend to wear a human face. So pay attention to the people around you right now. Pay attention to conversations that feel slightly charged, slightly more significant than their surface content suggests. Pay attention to the person who reaches out unexpectedly or who says something in passing that lands with a weight disproportionate to their apparent intention. Pay attention to new presences entering your orbit because one of them, or more than one of them, is carrying something for you. Something that is going to matter in ways you will not fully understand until you are further along the path, looking back at this moment as the one where everything quietly turned. There is also a professional dimension to what is coming that I want to address specifically because it is one of the most concrete and immediately impactful layers of this shift. Something is changing in how the world sees what you offer. There has been, in recent seasons, a gap between the value you actually bring and the recognition and compensation you receive for it. You have felt this gap, even if you haven't always named it, the sense of working at a level that isn't fully being met by the returns, of bringing a quality of thought, care, and ability to your professional life that exceeds what is being reflected back to you in material and acknowledgement. That gap is closing. What is coming professionally carries the energy of a correction, a recalibration, something, a new role, a new opportunity, a new arrangement, a recognition that has been overdue, a project that allows your true capabilities to finally be fully visible, that brings the external reality of your professional life into alignment with the internal reality of what you are actually worth. And for Libra, who has a deeply embedded sense of what is fair and what is deserved, this recalibration is going to feel like something releasing in the chest, a long-held tension finally resolved, a quiet score finally settled, not through conflict or confrontation, but through the simple, dignified mechanism of the right thing finally happening. You are going to be seen properly, fully. In the professional arena that matters most to you, someone or multiple someones is going to see what you bring with a clarity that has sometimes been missing. And that seeing is going to translate into something real, something that changes your daily reality, something that makes the effort of all the seasons you showed up without adequate recognition feel in retrospect like a foundation rather than a waste. Let me also speak to something that is perhaps less obvious but equally important in this unfolding, something that lives in your interior world rather than your external circumstances. Because the most significant prediction I can make for you right now is not actually about what is arriving from outside. It is about what is arriving from inside. There is a clarity coming, a personal clarity about who you are, what you want, and what you are no longer willing to settle for, that is going to feel almost startling in its directness. Because Libra is not always known for directness with others or with yourself. You tend toward nuance, toward seeing all sides, toward holding multiple possibilities simultaneously rather than committing fully to one. That quality is one of your great gifts. But it can also, when it runs without balance, keep you in a state of perpetual consideration, always weighing, always measuring, always arriving at almost but not quite a decision. The clarity that is coming cuts through that. It arrives not as harshness or rigidity, but as a genuine settling a moment where the scales inside you, which have been oscillating for some time, suddenly find their natural resting point. And from that resting point, you will know things, simply and directly know them, without needing to deliberate or seek outside confirmation. You will know what you want to do next. You will know which relationship deserves more of your energy and which one has been quietly, politely asking too much of it for too long. You will know what the next step is. And that knowledge, clean, clear, unhesitating, is going to be one of the most liberating experiences you have had in recent memory. Because when Libra is truly clear, truly aligned with their own inner knowing, they become something extraordinary. They move with a grace and a certainty that is unlike anything else in the zodiac, the grace of someone who has considered every angle and arrived, finally, at the one true direction. And when you move from that place, the world tends to rearrange itself around your movement in ways that can feel almost miraculous. Doors open, people show up, opportunities materialize, not because the universe suddenly decided to cooperate, but because your aligned energy creates conditions in which cooperation is natural. Your aligned energy is arriving, and what follows it will feel, to anyone watching from the outside, like extraordinary luck. But you will know, in the privacy of your own understanding, that it was never luck. It was always the inevitable result of someone finally moving in full alignment with who they actually are. Now I want to speak to the relationships in your life, because no reading for Libra is complete without acknowledging that relationships are the terrain on which your most important life experiences unfold. And what is happening in your relational world right now is significant, quietly, powerfully significant, in ways that are still becoming fully visible. There is a love story in your life already present or arriving soon that is not a simple story. It is not the neat, uncomplicated kind of connection that looks good on paper and feels easy from the beginning. It is something richer and more textured than that. Something that asks more of you and gives more to you than the comfortable and convenient connections that have sometimes filled the space in your life without truly filling the space in your heart. This connection, whether it is one you are already in and on the verge of understanding more deeply, or one that is approaching from a direction you haven't anticipated, carries the specific quality, that Libra most needs and most deeply wants, the quality of being genuinely known. Not known in the surface sense, not known as in someone who recognizes your preferences and remembers your stories. Known in the way that requires the other person to actually see you, to perceive the depth of your interior world, the complexity of your feelings, the tenderness that lives beneath the composure, the longing that animates everything you do, and to choose you anyway, with full information, without needing you to be simpler or more manageable or less emotionally intelligent than you actually are. That quality of being chosen, really chosen, with complete awareness of who you are, is what is arriving in your relational world. And it is going to feel different from things you have experienced before. It is going to feel in the most unexpected and quietly overwhelming way like rest. Like you can finally put down the effort of managing how you are perceived and simply be and find that being unedited, unperformed, genuinely yourself is exactly what someone wants, exactly what they showed up for. There is also something I want to name about the broader social landscape of your life, the friendships, the community, the circles of connection that surround the romantic and professional at the center. Something is shifting here too. There are people moving closer who belong in your life, who carry a frequency that matches yours, who will contribute to your daily experience in ways that add rather than deplete. And there are connections that are quietly, without drama, completing their natural arc and beginning to recede, not because anything terrible happened, but because you are no longer who you were when those connections were formed, and the distance is simply the honest reflection of that growth. You are allowed to let things complete naturally. You are allowed to release connections that no longer fit without manufacturing a crisis to justify the release. You are allowed to simply walk in the direction of what is alive for you and trust that what belongs with you will keep up and what doesn't belong will gracefully fall away. This is not abandonment. This is alignment. And Libra, who sometimes holds on to connections long past their natural completion out of a deep discomfort with anything that resembles conflict or rejection, even when the release is mutual and organic, is being given permission, right? Now, to let the natural movement happen. Let it happen. The connections that are meant for this next chapter of your life are not the ones you have to hold together through effort. They are the ones that hold together on their own, sustained by something genuine, by real recognition, by the simple and profound fact of two people who actually want to be in each other's lives. There is one more thing I need to say, and it is perhaps the most important thing in everything I have shared with you today. Because predictions are not really about what is coming from the outside. The most accurate prediction I can make for any Libra for you, specifically in this specific season, is this. You are on the edge of believing in yourself in a new way. Not in the performative way, not in the way that looks like confidence and is actually a very well-constructed armor, but in the quiet, unshakable, private way that doesn't need external validation to sustain itself, the way that lets you want something and believe you deserve it at the same time, the way that lets you receive a compliment without immediately deflecting it, the way that lets you look at the life that is forming around you, the opportunity, the connection, the recognition, the home, the stability, the love and feel, without flinching, that it is appropriate, that it fits, that you did not stumble into something beyond your rightful reach, but arrived on your own 2 feet, at the exact destination your life was always building toward. That belief, that quiet, steady, self-authored belief in your own worthiness is the real windfall. Everything else that is coming, all the beautiful, tangible, real, and remarkable things that are making their way toward you right now, they are the fruit of that belief finally taking root. They are what happens when a Libra stops asking whether they deserve good things and simply begins to live as though they do. You deserve every single thing that is coming. The clarity, the connection, the recognition, the stability, the love, the mornings that feel like relief, the evenings that feel like peace. The version of your life where you wake up and feel not in a fleeting or fragile way, but in a deep and lasting and fully embodied way, that you are exactly where you are supposed to be, living exactly the life that was always meant for you. It is coming, all of it, and not one piece of it is arriving by accident.